What about a sunroof? With millions of cars nationwide,
Chicken.
What's up, everyone? I'm Blazing Phoenix, and today I'm going to be doing something I haven't ever done before on my channel. Mostly it's gaming related or some side stuff related, such as me doing Rubik's Cube or card tricks in the past. But today, I'm actually going to be talking about something music related. If you have been listening to any of my past couple streams where I've been doing Kingdom Hearts blindfolded, you may have heard this sound at some point. And what that is Goofy from Kingdom Hearts 2 saying full speed ahead while starting a Gummy Ship mission, followed by a gentleman singing we're up, we're off, and away we go. That gentleman being Jorge Rivera Elens, playing the part of Odysseus in his musical, Epic the Musical. Real quick, how this is going to work, because I've never done something like this before, so just how I'm going to do this is first tell the backstory of how I got into Epic the Musical, as that will then transition into my thoughts and opinions on it. And finally, I will be doing a ranking of all 40 songs for Epic the Musical, or at least attempting to, in one stream, because I have a lot of thoughts on these songs. And for those who don't know who I am, as many people probably from the Epic community don't know who I am, I'm Blazing Phoenix, and I have a full-time job, wife, kids. I play chess and have other hobbies, and typically on my YouTube channel I do gaming related content, most of which are speedrunning, and recently has been blindfolded speedrunning. I've done games such as Tekken 3 blindfolded, Smash Brothers, A Link to the Past, Nintendo World Championship NES editions, Donkey Kong for the NES, and most notably the one that I'm working on currently and where I started was Kingdom Hearts blindfolded. I even got myself a Kingdom Hearts shirt that my wife bought me for my birthday a couple days ago. I am also not much of a musical person. And before I go further, I'd like to explain my personal definition of what I mean by musical. Because to me, there's two kinds of musicals. There's what I put as a category of pseudo-musical, where it's 75% or less singing, rapping, and all that stuff. Something like Disney movies, Sweeney Todd, The Labyrinth, something like that I would consider a pseudo musical where I typically don't have issues with, but normally if it's mostly singing, rapping, and all that, um, something like Hamilton, I either don't listen to or I listen to once and never listen to again. It's just never really been my thing. And yet Jorge, or as many know him as Jay, has done is created the very first musical that I can actually get into. And something I've listened to a lot more than once. And have been listening to since the Wisdom Saga released, which I'll get to in the backstory. So again, I'm not much of a musical person, which is why I never talk about musicals on here. But I've just been really wanting to talk about Epic for a long time. But then I've always been afraid to talk about it. But since the Odyssey had just came out a few days ago, I figured a lot of people are probably looking up things of the Odyssey and probably finding Epic the Musical, and those who have known about Epic the Musical are probably still looking up things of Epic the Musical because it's just that dang good. And I figured if there was a time for me to talk about it, the best time would have been when Ithaca Saga came out, and any time in between, but now would be like the second best time to do it. So here I am finally talking about my thoughts on Epic the Musical. The backstory of how I got into it. My wife has Spotify, and she occasionally does the option where it can recommend songs to her based off of her likes or something like that. And at one point, it played Done For from the Cersei Saga. And she heard it, she really liked it, and she then later played it in the car when I was in there with her, because this is her first driving to or from work when she heard Done For. And now her and I and the kids are doing something else to where she plays in the car. I'm like, it sounds like this is from a musical. And she goes, I think it is from some sort of musical based off of a Greek story. And I do like Greek mythology to a point. It's always interested me, especially when it's referenced in Final Fantasy games, or when Final Fantasy games use them as a reference. But for the Odyssey itself, other than the Cyclops story and the Siren story that I learned in like 11th grade English or something, I was not too familiar with the Odyssey itself. But being super biased that I was, when I heard that it was probably a musical and that the first song sounded very musical-esque, I did not put much thought into it and just quickly ignored it. Thankfully, a few weeks later, she also gets recommended a a far more popular song that many probably know. Uh, like I said, I have kids, and sometimes they need something. Uh, he was just asking where something was. The song that came on next for her was a song called "Ruthlessness," and it's a lot more closer to what I like. I like 70s, 80s related content, and also some rock and things like that. So things like AC/DC, Metallica, I can get into, but mostly 70s, 80s. But my wife knows that I tend to like stuff like that, and Ruthlessness was closer to that. And she goes, "Hey, you should listen to this." And I said, "Alrighty." And it wasn't until the next day when I go to work, because I at that job that I had at the time, I worked by myself. I put on Ruthlessness. I'm like, this sounded pretty good. And the fact that this potentially came from a musical, I was like, what if there's other songs like this? And me, I don't go out and listen to new music often, so tend to stick to my like 200 songs that I've been listening to for a long time. So I thought I'll finally give this musical a try. Maybe I'll find two or three songs that I'll like and put on my playlist and then never listen to the musical again. Which is such a crappy mindset, but it's just unfortunately how I think about musicals. Uh, but because I know it's based on the Odyssey, and I'm at work, so I know I'm going to be distracted. I was afraid that if there was a story to this, I would have a hard time following it. And so what I did was look up a quick 30-minute video that explained the Odyssey itself, and then I went to Epic the Musical. Uh, and since I'm listening to it at work, I don't have the fan animations that are terrific, by the way, which I'll get into later. So this is me purely experiencing Epic the Musical audio only. And I get to the first two songs, and I'm thinking, you know what, this sounds a lot better than I'm used to hearing for musicals. And then the following three songs I don't like as much at the time. Uh, but now that I have context, a lot of these songs got better for me. But at the time, the three songs after were kind of a little bit downwards for me, and so I'm like, okay. Just waiting for the next big song or Ruthlessness to pop up, and then I was not ready for the Cyclops saga. I get to Polyphemus, and immediately there's like a tone shift. And then when the Cyclops comes on, you have the Cyclops and Odysseus going back and forth with wordplay while this uh, dark sounding music is going on, like the cello or something. And I am completely invested at this point. I am listening to it and just eating it up. And then you get to Survive, where it's this action sounding, almost like I'm listening to an action movie, but my brain is creating the image for me for Polyphemus or for Survive. And it's just one of the craziest experiences I've ever had. I've listened to songs that have story and can have somewhat of a picture of what's going on, but this this was different. It was like a video game boss of these soldiers going against the boss Polyphemus, and I'm just picturing it and enjoying it. The music is great, the singing is great, the banter of Odysseus and his crew, and this is just the first half of the song, to where then the Cyclops goes in a second phase of the boss fight and starts wreaking havoc. And I'm like, oh, oh no. To then follow up with Remember Them for the conclusion of what feels like this big three-part story just told in three songs. I was completely hooked at that point. The Cyclops saga made me an Epic fan before I finished listening to Epic the Musical. And it's definitely an experience I have not forgotten. Almost two years later, I guess it's been. And so I continue listening to Epic. I encounter more songs that I like. Luck Runs Out, it's great. Ruthlessness pops up, which is great. Wouldn't You Like, closer to 70s, 80s style, I was completely happy to listen to. The whole entire Underworld saga was an experience in its own, dude. And I get all the way to the end of the Wisdom saga, ending with God Games, which was amazing as well, for it to just stop. And at this point, I hadn't done too much research on Epic. I just looked up the Odyssey, then found Epic the Musical on the official channel, listened to it, and it stops at God Game. I'm like, where's the next song? And when I look at it, I see that this Wisdom saga had been released the day before I started listening to Epic. And then further research, I find that these are being released every few months, and that I'm gonna have to wait 2 to 3 months for the Vengeance saga, and then 2 to 3 months for the Ithaca saga for the conclusion. And at this point, I'm like, no, no, I want to know where this is gonna go. I have to wait for it to finish, but I had never ever felt like this listening to music, let alone a musical. And then when I get home, I tell my wife that those two songs that you had me listen to, and that the fact that it came from a musical, I thought I was not gonna care much because apparently I'm a jerk like that for musicals. But I'm like, I highly recommend that you try these, because I was completely impressed with it. And she goes, okay, I'll give them a listen. and she'll listen to them partially while at work, partially while driving to and from work. And after a few days, she comes back and is like, "That was pretty good." And she was also a little upset that it wasn't finished. I'm like, "I know it. I need this to come out." And throughout the days of work, I would look up backstories of uh, Epic the Musical, listen to videos talking about it, reaction videos, things like that. I'm listening to Epic more and more, and I find out that there's motifs, which was a word I had never heard before, but that there's motifs in Epic. Characters have their own instruments. These motifs are clever and appear at certain spots, as well as Jorge put clever hints of storytelling in these songs that don't even pertain to Epic the Musical, but Greek mythology in general. Like, for example, with Suffering, when Scylla is brought up, you don't hear a theme of Scylla playing or uh, a different tone of Suffering or the danger motif. You hear Cersei's motif because Scylla, the character, has a backstory with Cersei. And I think that's so cool that Jorge just added that little bit of detail for a song that, unless you know Greek mythology or really paying attention to what could that mean and then look it up, it's it's just a nice sound at the moment that Scylla is brought up. And the more I learned about Epic, the backstory, the cast, the thought process, I just became a big fan of it. And it's become one of my most favorite pieces of entertainment media in general. Include TV show, movies, music, video games, all that. Epic is at least top 5, maybe top 3 on my list. I don't have a list made, but I'm sure it'd be up there. And the other nice thing that I found was that the fandom is so awesome that a lot of them decided to make animatics and animations of these songs, which then created a better visual aid of what could be going on in these songs to have a better picture to make the story more complete. Um, Also, I just want to point out my wife and I have very different tastes in music. Her Spotify has hundreds of songs. My YouTube playlist that I use, but now use Spotify, has hundreds of songs. And if you were to merge the two lists together to find common liked songs, it would be a handful, maybe a dozen at best. And then, to make matters a little more difficult for music, we also have kids who have very different opinions on music as well. And we didn't really think that Epic would be something that they would like. But we had listened to the Cyclops saga one day while driving, and then the next day while driving again, one of them goes, "Can you put on that music we listened to yesterday?" And we're like, "We listened to a lot of songs. What are you talking about?" And they said something along the lines of, with the scary monster sounding guy that had his sheep. And we're like, Epic? And we put it on and they're like, yeah, that. And it's one of the very, very few things, music wise, that my wife, my kids, and I all like and enjoy and have watched. And so with the animations that I've encountered, uh, I spent weeks doing it. I haven't uploaded this on YouTube because I don't know how the rules work for this, but I took my favorite animation of all 40 songs after Ithaca came out and stitched them all together to be like the super long 2.5 hour long movie. I think it's like 225, 224, 2 hours, 24 minutes. So that my kids who don't look up these animations but were interested in them had something to where if they wanted to on the big TV in the living room, they could just put on Epic the Musical movie, quote unquote, and they really enjoyed it. And while I don't want to like make some animators a little upset, because I don't know if any would be, I do have a personal favorite animator who I always enjoy and look forward to seeing their work on any of these Epic songs, and that's going to have to be for Gigi. From the very beginning of The Horse and the Infant to other songs like Puppeteer, there are other ways, Monster especially, Suffering, all that. Gigi's works is my personal favorite, and was super cool to see that she was the final one for the official animations of Penelope and Odysseus singing together. And I just thought that was a great way to have the Ithaca saga end for the official animation. And there are a ton of talented animators out there. I would be afraid to forget some, and I'm sure everyone knows who's all the talented ones by this point, as it seems there are people far bigger fans than me of Epic that could just go at it. Uh, but yeah, Epic the Musical is a one of a kind piece of entertainment that I highly recommend for anyone, and have recommended it to many people. As a video game fan and as someone who does enjoy some anime and who likes a variety of genre of music, like as a whole, not just 70s, 80s and rock, but I do like listening to other things. The fact that Epic is like all of this together in one of the most popular stories told for 2000 plus years and still being told. I think Jorge and the cast of Epic and even the fandom of Epic have all done a great job to make this a beyond masterpiece, a legendary, if you will, piece of media. And so that's how I got into it. I think I covered a lot of my basic thoughts on it as well. Uh, it's also one of the very few pieces of music where I learned the cast of. Like, I really like Bare Naked Ladies, but unfortunately, I can't tell you any of the band member names. I like a lot of music and movies and TV shows, but I could not tell you a lot of the cast people for a lot of these things. Whereas Epic, I could probably tell you the name of almost every person who's on the voice acting side of things. I can't tell you who's all on the behind the scenes, because I'm sure there's a lot more to it than even I know of. Uh, and I think while it has gained a lot of popularity and attention, it's one of those that I like so much that I just want to see it keep succeeding and going further and further beyond 10 million views for each song, beyond 100 million plus total views, things like that. It's it's one of those that I think they all did a great work. They all seem like great people and deserve any success that they get. I've even listened to interviews with some of the cast members who's been on stuff like I believe his YouTube channel, his username is Peter Barber, probably his real name, where he's talked to Luke, Tegan, and Anna or Anna Lee. I apologize if I mispronounced that. I think it's Anna. I don't know. I listened to those interviews because those are great to listen to. I've also listened to some reactions, and I don't do reactions really ever. But I was so curious to hear people's opinions. I've listened to reactions such as Mortius and Casper, uh, Knox Hill, uh, Danny Mata, I believe that's his username, which was the first time I ever heard of him, even though it seems like he's a big reaction person on YouTube. Again, I'm not a reaction person, but uh, they were great to listen to and all had their own opinions. I feel bad for not remembering his name. There's an author, a fantasy author, who also did a reaction of Epic, and I thought his opinions were fantastic on how he was covering each song and each saga of Epic. Uh, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I can say before I get into ranking these things. And while doing the rankings, there will be spoilers, as I will probably talk about a lot of things. And I'm also a little worried to do this ranking because I'm sure whatever I put low is going to be a lot of people's favorite songs, and a lot that I put high will probably not be as liked as other songs. It's just my personal opinion. And I'm just going to say this. There's one song that I typically skip because I'm not too much of a fan of, mostly because of story reasons. Two songs that I'm not as big on, just because it's not my personal taste. I'm not saying that they're bad songs. None of these songs are bad by any means. The singing is great. Uh, the music is great. It's just for my personal taste, it's just on the lesser end. And it's just like trying to look at 4.8 to 5-star restaurants and then trying to decide which ones you like most least. And you're like, they're such high quality. It's hard, really hard to put them in order. But if I were to do a top 40, I'm going to have to put them in some sort of order, even though they're all masterpieces to legendary songs. And I also wanted to do this in the live stream in case anyone who's interested wanted to chime in and chat. I can also talk with them. I'm sure people have strong opinions on Epic. But I think that covers my main thoughts of Epic the Musical. So I guess we'll go into this rankings. So first, how I'm going to do this is order these songs from most favorite to least favorite per saga. Just because I don't actually have a ranking list made per se. Like, I already know what my top 6 is. I know what my bottom 3 are, but everything in between, it typically changes every month. So I'm going to go in order from saga, ranking them from my most favorite to least favorite, and then just picking which of my least favorite is my least favorite to put next onto the list, if that makes any sense. And unfortunately, my laptop seems to be lagging a little going through this. So let's start with the Troy Saga. And hopefully you guys can read the names of these songs. I try to find a tier list where the text was easy to read. Let's see. Troy Saga. I'm gonna get haters. Gonna get haters immediately. I do not think this is a bad song at all. And I completely understand why people really like this song. It's just, of these first 5 songs, is the least towards music that I like out of the 5 songs. And I'm going to get completely flacked for putting this at the bottom of the Troy Saga. But this is how you will know this is my opinion, because I know that I'm going to upset some people. My least favorite song of the Troy Saga is Open Arms. It's a great song, and Polites is a great character, and I like him a lot. It's just the furthest of the 5 of what I like most in music. So Open Arms is 5th place, followed by Full Speed Ahead, and funny enough, just moving those 2 places, this is my exact order of most favorite Troy Saga song to least favorite Troy Saga song. We got Open Arms last, Full Speed Ahead 4th, Warrior of the Mind 3rd, Just a Man 2nd, and The Horse and the Infant 1st place. Next, we got the Cyclops Saga. Let me order them. Least favorite to most favorite. Again, not a bad song. Singing was great. Music was great. It's just the furthest from what I like in music than the other 3 songs compared. And that's going to be the song that's already in the 4th position, My Goodbye. Typically, I like action. I like comedy. I like very catchy stuff. And very, I don't want to say the word epic because of the title, but epic sounding music. And My Goodbye is more sad. More just people arguing over kind of silly reasons to be arguing about. And so while Tegan did a fantastic job singing, Jorge did great with his singing. It's just like, it's like hearing 2 parents fight and you just feel uncomfortable. And while it's in a crazy good sounding way, that's just how I feel when I hear these 2 fight. I'm like, I feel a little sad and uncomfortable that this happened, and so that's why I put it fourth. Next would be the song that hooked me and made me become a fan of Epic, Polyphemus. And really, just moving those two songs put these in the order of least favorite to most favorite. Fourth place being My Goodbye, third place being Polyphemus, second being Remember Them, first being Survive. I almost like Polyphemus and Remember Them equally, but what I like more about Remember Them is it feels like the conclusion to finishing something great that you just listened to, as well as seeing the conclusion of the setup with Odysseus telling the Cyclops his name is nobody, to then seeing how that can be effective later in the song, to then Odysseus making the worst decision he made, telling the Cyclops who he is and where he's from. But while it was a stupid decision, he did it in the coolest way possible of making a dumb decision look good, even though it was completely bad. First, starting with the name of the song, Remember Them, to then turning it into Remember Us, to Remember Me, and then him just talking his stuff like, I am the one who defeated you. I am the one that blinded you. Me, I'm your mortal, not even a mortal, not a man or mythical I. And beyond that, I blinded you. Your darkest moment, which is a great pun. A great way to taunt someone that you just blinded. To then the finishing yell of Odysseus. I'm not going to attempt to do it because my voice is not close to Jorge's level. Like, I'm below amateur and Jorge just sounds professional. I'm not going to do that. And just the yell of his name is stupid, but in the coolest way possible. And it's just, I'm like, that just sounded so cool the way he delivers it. And Polyphemus, I do appreciate the banter back and forth and how the Cyclops brought up points, and then Odysseus took points and said points very similar but twisted for his own way to also make a pun about the eye, funny enough. So it starts off with him making a pun of the eye to end off with the pun of the eye, and then Survive. Man, as I explained earlier, Survive was so cool to listen to. Odysseus rallying up his men, fighting the Cyclops, telling them what to do with his men replying back a call to arms to this amazing sounding fight scene that I could picture in my head without ever seeing an animation of it, to then be flipped again, Cyclops twisting Odysseus' words for himself and changing it from like 600 men to save to 600 men will die. No one should die today to everyone died. You know how all that goes. And just how clever it is, how intense it is. It's just an incredible song and my personal favorite of the Cyclops saga. What got me hooked on Epic, what got my kids hooked onto Epic. Just incredible. Next, the Storm Ocean Saga? Oh no, I'm blanking on what it's called. It can't be the Storm Saga. I think it's called the Ocean Saga. That wouldn't make sense because Underworld's the only saga with the title that matches the song. So Ocean Saga. Uh, Again, I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this because I know it's actually people's favorite or second favorite of the Ocean Saga. Actually, no. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. My least favorite has to be Storm. I know a lot of people like Storm, but I also know that there are a fair amount of people who also put this towards the bottom of their Ocean Saga list. It's a good song. It definitely helps bridge the gap between Cyclops to the next phase of the Ocean Saga. But to me, it's also kind of simple. Not in a bad way. Okay, I say simple. Compared to the rest of Epic the Musical, this song is more simple, even though it still has its own cool, clever wordplay. I don't mean it simple in general. It's I'm referring to the rest of Epic the Musical. It sounds more simple than the rest. It's still a great song. I will still sing it in the car, yelling, Storm. I'm not gonna sing on stream because my singing is bad. Then third place is what I was meaning of typically higher on people's lists. Keep Your Friends Close. It's a great song. I like it a lot. I really like the I guess chorus or motif of it that is also used later in Dangerous. Uh it's just these two songs I like more than Keep Your Friends Closer. Ruthlessness at top, because of course. And Luck Runs Out, I'm actually a big fan of. I liked it long before I even got to Mutiny, which is a better version of Luck Runs Out. But I really, really like Luck Runs Out. And I know it's not common to like it more than Keep Your Friends Close, just my personal opinion. But Ruthlessness, it's pretty obvious why it's at the top, and I'm sure I don't need to go over why I put it at the top, as well as for personal reasons, it's actually the song that made me try Epic the Musical. So not only does it sound great, it got me to try listening to this whole thing. So Ruthlessness, or let's go in order from least to most. Storm at fourth, Keep Your Friends Close at third, Luck Runs Out at second, Ruthlessness at first. Next is the Cersei Saga. While it's technically the song that I first ever heard of Epic the Musical, it is my least favorite of the Cersei Saga done for. It's a great song, but I hate saying but, it's one of the songs that feels very musical like to me. And just for some reason, I don't know what it is about musical style songs that I just don't like as much. I guess it's just my personal taste. Just like my wife does not care for 70s, 80s, and I think it's some of the best sounding songs out there. For me, musical style songs just don't hit with me. And of the four songs in the Cersei saga, Done For is not as strong for me as the other three. I will still sing Done For. I know pretty much all the lyrics to it. I will still sing it. It's still catchy. I like the back and forth between Jorge and Talia. Just it's still a great song. Just of the four songs in the Cersei saga, it's also very easy for me to say that it's my least favorite of the Cersei saga. And then I'm gonna put what I like the most at the top. It's probably easy to know that it's my favorite based off what I've talked about. And the reason I'm already putting it at the top because I want to talk about these two. There Are Other Ways and Puppeteer was very difficult for me to put what I like higher because I really enjoy them both. I think they both are crazy great songs, and I like them almost equally. And it's just very difficult for me to put one over the other. But if I had to pick one, I like Puppeteer more. I like the start. It just sounds like a whole story from the start of bad things happened from ruthlessness. Odysseus trying to process what happened while Eurylochus is trying to say something. Something. And Odysseus just is like, I need you to go on this mission, to then immediately transitioning to Eurylochus panicking. And Odysseus like, what happened? To one of my favorite, I guess I can call it rap section of the musical. Such great, great stuff there. To then the comedic conclusion of a woman. What? Made me laugh so hard. I had to pause it when I was at work because I thought it was funny. And then I rewinded it. I don't know what the proper word is, to listen to that whole section again. To then the unique back and forth of Cersei singing, Eurylochus singing, Cersei singing, Eurylochus singing was so cool to listen to. And then, as I mentioned earlier, of Gigi's animation, the transition that she has done from Cersei walking and talking or singing to Eurylochus singing, talking to Odysseus in this clean back and forth. It was just like an extra nice for the song. So musically, I really liked it, and then animatic wise, just was like the icing on top. Whereas there are other ways is super catchy. This tango like, I guess it's either salsa or tango, but I would guess tango like feeling of the way that they're singing to then Odysseus singing on top of her and then going back and forth to then Odysseus pulling away to sing about his wife to then Cersei helping him because of her seeing him talk about his wife this way. And I'm like, this song is so good. To then the underworld hint towards the end, to then the final moment of her just blaring out her final line. I'm like, these two songs are so hard to compare of what I like more, but Puppeteer just barely takes the lead for me to put it second favorite for the Cersei saga. So in order from least favorite to most favorite, Done For, There Are Other Ways, Puppeteer, and Wouldn't You Like, which I haven't talked about yet, but Hermes, 70s, 80s style, and if almost Phil Collins like in the middle as well. And I'm a huge Zelda fan. Not only am I a Kingdom Hearts fan, I'm a Final Fantasy and Zelda fan as well. A lot of Wouldn't You Like reminds me of the Fairy Fountain. And the way he giggles and laughs also gives me vibes of Ocarina of Time Fairy Fountain. So not only do I like the genre of music, I really like the singing and the music, but it also hit a core of a video game series that I like, and it's easily my favorite of the Cersei saga. And now the Underworld saga. Before Ithaca saga came out, Underworld saga was my favorite saga, and all three of these songs are fantastic. I'm guaranteed they'll probably all three of them will make it in my top 15 for sure. But they're all incredible songs, and it's super difficult to rank them. The only thing that made it easy for this is of the three songs, while I like them all greatly, one does stand out above the other two for me, and I think it stands out for a lot of people. No Longer You is my absolute favorite Underworld song. So then I had to choose between The Underworld and Monster. So let me talk about No Longer You real quick, since I've already placed it at the top. My only criticism for it, it's too dang short. It's one of the shorter songs I feel like. And I just want to listen to it longer. But man, the waltz style background music with Mason doing a terrific job of sounding like this haunting wise prophet to, and I'm going to get into this banter, I hate spoilers. When I really want to watch something, play something, whatever, I try my best to avoid spoilers because I like the in the moment surprise. I absolutely dislike spoilers. And yet, while not being a musical fan and while really not being a spoiler fan, Jorge had found a way to make me like a musical, and he found a way to spoil things for me without making me hate it. And that's all this song is a huge spoiler for the rest of the musical, but in the coolest, most clever way possible. Uh, from the prophet saying things that are to come to the choir underneath the prophet telling more exactly of what is to come in a crazy good sounding way. And it's just an amazing song. Like, it was the first song where after I listened to it, I re-listened to it again because I was just, again, it was too short first off, but second I'm like, I need to listen to that song again. And I wasn't trying to like deep dive into the lyrics because again, I'm not big on spoilers. I was just engulfed in how amazing it just sounded. And especially the end of the Odysseus part, to then later find out that that's actually how the song Odysseus ends. But it's just an amazing song. Oh, excuse me, sorry. So now we have the Underworld and Monster. Very difficult to choose, but I think I have to put Monster above the Underworld. And let me first talk about the Underworld, then Monster. Underworld has a nice beginning of like Odysseus is talking to his men, to the transition of, while again I'm listening to this at work, but knowing that there's a transition from the living world to the underworld, with the haunting, like singing, vocals, moaning, whatever you want to call it, in the background, to then Odysseus immediately talk about how he feels he's being haunted by screams in his past and whatnot, to then his men chiming in of a 558 men. That whole section was so good, to them bringing up ruthlessness, back to the chorus of the song of all he hears is screams. I'm like, man, this is some tragedy that's going on with poor Odysseus. And it's didn't even occur to me it's gonna get it's gonna get more emotional for Polites to show up with this lighthearted singing, because Steven does a great job with Polites of sounding happy while singing, but you know it's hurting Odysseus, to then going from familiar territories to a completely new tragedy. In case the song didn't hurt emotions enough, you had to bring in his mom. And I know some people, when reacting to this, was confused of the mom being brought up. And while I don't want to like sound like, oh, I figured this out better, blah blah blah, it was, when I first listened to it, I immediately was hit with, oh no, Odysseus left while his mom was alive, and now he's finding out that she's dead. And again, I had listened to the 30-minute summary of the Odyssey, but other than it helping me structure listening to the musical, I pretty much forgot what's going to happen next while listening to Epic. So I completely forgot that Odysseus encountered his mom. So then hearing that whole mom sequence and hearing him go, I took too long, and that's when you know that that's how he finds out that his mom is dead, and that he has been taking too long to get home, is such a sad moment that while I didn't cry at work, I could definitely feel one of my eyes getting a little foggy. I'm like, dang, I'm about to cry at work, dude. That was so emotional. And then it is an amazing song, to then lead into No Longer You, to then lead into Monster. The beginning of the song is super slow, which is great for storytelling, but not towards my type of music. But it's Odysseus talking about, reflecting of, what if I do need to do something different, because this currently has not been working to get us home. To then him justifying everything he's encountered so far, from the Cyclops to Circe to Poseidon, to how he handled the end of the Trojan War, was great lyrics. Some of my favorite lyrics in all of Epic the Musical. And again, Gigi did a fantastic job animating that section as well. To then follow up with the section where he's like, he lost his best friend, his mentor, his mom, 500 million. That whole section, ending with him saying that he would be willing to drop an infant off a wall again if it meant for them to all get home, was like, whoa, dang. Odysseus is a changed man for sure. Hello, homeshake_Twitch. Welcome to the channel. How are you doing today? Just going over my opinions of Epic the Musical while going through each saga and ranking each song from my most favorite to least favorite in each saga to then ultimately rank all 40 songs, hopefully, within this stream. If you're here for Epic the Musical or if you're just here in general. Right now, I'm covering the Underworld saga and talking about why Monster is such a great song. You're doing good. How about me? I'm doing very good. I've been wanting to talk about Epic for a long time now, and I figured now would be a great time because I've postponed it too long, and with the Odyssey being recently released, well, I haven't seen it yet, so please no spoilers. With Christopher Nolan's Odyssey being released, I figured now would probably be a great time to finally talk about it after listening to Epic for almost 2 years. But then Odysseus talking about dropping the baby off the wall to uh him become the monster, to it going from a slow song to him just yelling out his emotions and accepting the change was amazing to listen to. And again, Gigi, the brilliancy of him shaking hands with his monster to Penelope taking off the headband is just like, I already thought this song was good, and you're just gonna take these ideas and just skyrocket them was just crazy. And with how much I like that song, it's also crazy that I can't put it at number one because I like No Longer You so much more. Or I say so much more, just a bit more. And so, least favorite to most favorite of the Underworld goes for the Underworld, third place, Monster second place, No Longer You first. Now for the Thunder Saga. As I've said, action, comedy, 70s, 80s, or rock, upbeat songs I tend to like. And with Epic the Musical, it also tends to be some of the longer songs that I like. Of the 5 songs in the Thunder Saga, my least favorite, which will probably be an unpopular opinion, will go to Scylla. Scylla is great. I think, oh man, what's her name? CJ? I feel like that's wrong. The singer for Scylla did a fantastic song, as well as everyone else in the Epic community, but I want to give props to every person. Oh, I didn't even give props to some of these people. Tegan, great work with Athena, fantastic. Stephen Dookie, great work for Polites. Jorge, especially for not just Epic the Musical, but Odysseus in general. That I'm going to give Jorge his flowers at the end because I have a lot to talk about his singing in general. Unfortunately, I don't know her name, but the one who did Aeolus did a great job for Aeolus. Steven Rodriguez for Poseidon. Wonderful singing voice. Like, as I'm sure everyone has mentioned to 100,000 times already, his gravelly sounding voice for this rock sounding Poseidon is just my favorite interpretation of Poseidon by far. Talia for Circe, Mason for Tiresias, Troy for Hermes. You all fantastic stuff. Luke Holt for Zeus. I couldn't remember the god's name. For Zeus, wonderful deep voice, opera like powerful singing. Armando for Eurylochus, who's been on this journey up to this point. I'm sorry, I don't remember Jorge's mom, but she did a fantastic job for Odysseus' mom as well. Again, as I said, made my one of my eyes fog up, trying not to shed a single tear. Great work from the entire cast of Epic, and still people to list off later. But Scylla, back to the song Scylla, it's just a very slow start, great for story, but very slow start, to Scylla finally popping up, but it's such a short section. Like, as wonderful as Scylla's voice was and as crazy dark as those lyrics are, whoa, them lyrics, it just felt so short and already done. Like, here's here's storytelling, creepy, monster shows up, 6 dudes dead, gone. And while it's a terrific song, it's this whole musical is. It's just didn't hit with me as much as these other four songs, which is why I put it in fifth place. Uh, man, I already know what I'm gonna put at the top, and I'm gonna say it now so I can have more time to think about the other three. Mutiny is my favorite of the Thunder Saga, by far. Here we've had this whole musical build up to this point of Odysseus and his men, mostly Eurylochus, with differences of opinions of how to tackle things. To now Eurylochus calling Odysseus out for sacrificing 6 men, and Odysseus is like, I'm trying to get us home. You probably would have done the same thing in your own shoes, but then Eurylochus just is like, no, to their conflict of what sounds like them fighting, to then the men standing up against Odysseus as well with a reprisal of Luck Runs Out, which I already mentioned. I really liked Luck Runs Out. And then this reprisal coming up is like this whole thing has been building up since the Ocean Saga. And that whole first half was already great. And then the second half just gets better with Eurylochus basically breaking, and Odysseus is trying to confront his comrade, his friend, his brother, to not make the worst decision of his life, to another reprisal of Luck Runs Out of Eurylochus and his men, while Odysseus is trying to talk them all out, mostly towards Eurylochus. And at this point, so many motifs have come up, and it's just like it felt like this big combination of this musical coming together in Mutiny for Eurylochus to be the one to say the phrase, I'm just a man. Odysseus screaming no, and Eurylochus finally acting on the worst decision that he could have done. And then following up with this concern and almost scared sounding captain. And then Odysseus immediately trying to have a plan, orders made to try to save the last of his men that are there. To then a thunder in the distance. And Odysseus going, it's too late. And you know with that thunder who it is. And that this is not going to end well. But it was this pure cinematic piece that I hadn't felt in this whole musical since Survive. But in this more emotional scale. And every time I still listen to it, it's just, I enjoy singing it. It brings a smile to my face. It's great storytelling. It's upbeat. Many motifs that are familiar to this point. And it's just a wonderful, crazy song that I have to put it at my personal favorite for the Thunder Saga. And then, let's see, we got these three songs. Suffering, Different Beast, Thunderbringer. Gonna talk about them in order, and then rank them however I feel afterwards. So Suffering, starting Act 2, and completely following the roller coaster of crazy that happened in Monster. Now we get to Suffering, which starts off with a weird sounding Penelope motif, to her singing to Odysseus. And again, this is a loose adaptation of Homer's The Odyssey. I'm expecting the sirens to come up at some point of Odysseus telling his men, tie me up so I can listen to them singing, so I can be the mortal to survive this. So for that not to happen, and instead what sounds like Penelope talking to Odysseus, I'm listening to it for the first time at work going, is he dreaming? Or what's going on? And then him saying he's scared of the water, I thought was weird. That was weird to me. To her singing, come play with me and our daughter, and I'm going, I thought Telemachus was a boy. Does he have a daughter too? I am so confused at this point. To where I'm thinking this is either a dream or some weird shapeshifter trying to get to him. I don't know if sirens can shapeshift. So I don't think siren. I'm just thinking some weird shapeshifter. And so I'm so confused during this song. But Odysseus doesn't feel threatened per se. But I like this back and forth that how the song sounds. And I think Jorge was super clever with making the ending of one singer sentence ending in a vowel sound for the next singer to continue from that vowel sound. So what I mean is something like I can take the suffering from you has that ooh sound for then Odysseus to follow up with you uh know that uh for you I would die, but can't you let me stay dry? He ends with the I sound for the siren to go back to I can take the so it's like this I ooh back and forth that I think is super clever and catchy to this upbeat sound. And I completely missed this on my first few listens to, but the fact that there is no string present at all for the Penelope part to then indicate this is not Penelope and that this is a bad fake Penelope motif. Excuse me. And something I already mentioned, but the fact that when Scylla's brought up and you have the Circe theme motif playing, even though she has nothing to do with this moment other than the fact that Scylla and Circe have story together, I think is brilliant. But the whole song was so catchy, and I liked that feeling of confusion of what's going on, especially after the monster song. And so it was a very cool, unique experience that I still remember and enjoy to this day. To then lead into Different Beast of Odysseus is not playing around anymore. Uh, while I know some people aren't as big of the backstory part per se of him explaining everything that went on, as a fan of shows like Psych and Sherlock, because those are some of my favorite shows, to me it was just like this mastermind character explaining how he got where he was and how he tricked the evildoer, the villain of the story. I actually really like that part to his men then acknowledging Odysseus as a changed man to then the song concluding in a brutal way of cut off their tails, let them drown was like, wow. Wow, this Odysseus is different. But I enjoyed it. I thought the song was very good. And then Thunderbringer following Mutiny. Hearing Zeus's powerful voice taunting this ant of a human, basically from his perspective of uh, how Zeus is this cunning, powerful god who pride is something he can strip because he's also perverted. Because why? What other way could you write Zeus other than how he is in Greek mythology? To then the way he's taunting Odysseus of if if I had to make you choose between you or your crew, why do I think you'd still pick yourself? You selfish human. Even though Odysseus and was somehow not in the wrong. Like a lot of times he's in the wrong throughout this musical, but this one time he wasn't. And it was his men's fault for killing this cow of not Apollo. Who's the other son? Helios? Killing Helios's cow. They were definitely in the wrong. And then Odysseus pleading out to Zeus the same exact way as he did in The Horse and the Infant. And then his men finally singing all the parts to Just a Man of when does a comet become a meteor, all the way when does the reason become the blame. Because throughout the musical, in The Horse and the Infant, they only sing the first two lines. Or I guess first two lines followed by When Does a Man Become a Monster? And then Ruthlessness, they sing the Ripple part and the Reason Become the Blame part. But finally in Thunderbringer, they sing all four parts on top of another fake Penelope coming in to try to persuade Odysseus in his decision of her will take the suffering from him. To then Eurylochus and Odysseus' final talk to each other was so well done. So well done. To then Zeus going back to his Thunderbringer singing. It's so good. Oh man. Like first listen when Zeus was just like pride is a damsel in distress and just like talking in this kind of creepy way. I'm like, Zeus, you sound cool because Luke is doing your voice, but man, you sound awful as a character. To then the decision part of the song, to the final talk, to then Zeus' final chorus, I guess, of Thunderbringers. Wow. Incredible stuff. It's super difficult to try to rank these three songs. I think I'm gonna put Different Beast in fourth. And trying to decide between what I like more, Suffering or Thunderbringer, is so difficult. Because Thunderbringer, Zeus sounds great with the great storytelling that I just mentioned. But Suffering is so catchy that I think I enjoy singing Suffering more than Thunderbringer. And I that added effect of feeling confused of what's going on also helps with how I feel about Suffering. Like Thunderbringer's fun to sing too, but just the catchiness of Suffering, the upbeat, and the back and forth between Odysseus and uh, fake Penelope, I guess we can call her the Siren Penelope, was so catchy. And the fact that other than her talking in Keep Your Friends Close, this is like the real first moment we get to hear Penelope sing. So I think that's cool. While it's again fake Penelope, it's still the same voice actress, and so it's still like her singing. Man, these two are very difficult to pick. I think even though Suffering is so catchy and fun to sing, because the other song Thunderbringer has more story and is also still catchy to sing and just has more of like an impact of the whole musical, I think I'm gonna put Thunderbringer above Suffering. And this is what I mean by like any month my opinions change, because I know I've done a list of these 5 songs before, and I actually put Suffering above Thunderbringer. But now that I think about it more, I think I like Thunderbringer more than Suffering. So now, in order from least to most, Scylla, Different Beast, Suffering, Thunderbringer, Mutiny. And now for the Wisdom Saga. Uh, Least favorite, same reason for My Goodbye, Will Be Fine. Although My Goodbye was more of a adults arguing, which made me feel uncomfortable kind of feeling. Will Be Fine is like a sad Athena talking to Telemachus, who it's a very great conversation between these two and definitely needed for the musical. It's just I believe it's the shortest song in the musical. It's still sad sounding, and when you look at the other 4 songs in the saga, I just personally like them more than Will Be Fine. So Will Be Fine is low on my list. The lowest on my list for the Wisdom Saga. Uh, next, man, this is hard. I know what my two favorite are for the saga, but I don't know what I'll put in fourth and third place. So I'll just put my first two favorites real quick. God Games is my favorite of the Wisdom Saga, followed by Little Wolf. God Games, while I know there's been criticism of how short and kind of quote unquote simple the arguments are for a lot of the gods against Athena, what I like about it, it's the start of Athena talking Zeus up, Father, God King, like great way to introduce yourself, Athena, to talk to Zeus, to then Zeus being cocky of play my game and I'll release him. To the introductions of the five gods was crazy cool sounding. To then this, as Jorge puts it, this Elite Four style of Athena's going from person to person to person is a crazy cool concept, especially since this is not how it goes in the Odyssey. From what I remember of the Odyssey, Odysseus has been on the Calypso's island for 7 years, and Athena is like, dang, I'd really like him to go back home. This sucks that this happened to him. And she's like, Father, can you please help Odysseus get off the island? And Zeus goes, since you're my favorite child and I like you so, so much, I will do this for you. And that's basically how my brain interprets that entire section of the Odyssey. But here, it's completely different in a cool way. So then she goes up against Apollo, who hasn't been mentioned yet, but is very important for the Ilium or Iliad, and voiced by a character of an anime I like, Finral in Black Clover. I'm gonna have to get up soon to put something in the oven for my kids. Uh, Apollo, I again, I don't remember the voice actor's name, unfortunately, but he does the voice of Finral in Black Clover, and I really like Finral in Black Clover. So it's cool that an actual anime voice actor does a part, with, even though it's a small part, a part in Epic the Musical, and I really hope he also does Apollo in Ilium when Jorge finishes that. To then Hephaestus, voiced by Jorge's dad, who sounds really good for Hephaestus, and the whole blacksmithing sound in the background, and Apollo with the harp sound also is cool. And then you got Aphrodite's Ares team up. That whole section was great, especially Ares is part of interrupting Athena's motif with the, I know Jorge mentions this, but some sort of Chinese stringed instrument that sounded so good for that part. And then Athena getting overcoming Ares because he made the mistake of insulting Telemachus, to then finally Hera, or as I know was nicknamed for a while, Shera. That whole section, and Aphrodite, I used to know her name. I apologize for every voice actor, actress that I can't remember the name of. You did great as Aphrodite. Uh, what is it? Mocha. It's either something Mocha or Mocha something. Did terrific for Ares. And the voice for Hera was also great. And that whole bit of, it felt like Athena was kind of fumbling, like a Phoenix Wright lawyer battle of here's this, no, objection, here's this, and then winning the court in a clever way of number one says he cheated on his wife, and Hera is like, release him. that made me laugh out loud as well. To then Zeus kind of being mad either about the situation or those final words was great. To the best iteration of Thunderbringer, of him sounding so angry, and to me it almost sounded like Endeavor from My Hero, or that voice actor in general, because I know he also does Ichigo's dad in Bleach, but that angry, deep voice for Thunderbringer was so great to listen to. And while Jorge was trying to make it seem like something bad or tragic happened to Athena and that she potentially died, I think everyone knew that she wasn't going to be dead in the end, but still, nice try, Jorge, to try to make it seem like she was dead. God Games was just so good. Followed by Little Wolf. As someone who first video game series was genre was fighting games, and it has been a fighting game, somehow making a song feel fighting game like, and then eventually having an official animation that was also fighting game like, this song reached out to me, as well as Aaron Alexander for the voice of Tiresias. I'm sorry, not Tiresias. Apologies. Antonius did a wonderful job sounding the part of a super cocky, mean villain. And I'm blanking on the name. I know his name. Give me a second, because I want to get this. The name for Telemachus, that voice actor. I thought about it right before stream because I was trying to make sure I remembered names, and now I'm completely blanking on Telemachus's voice actor name. If I was smart, I would have had a list of these names up, so then I wouldn't look so stupid when trying to cover the singers. I'm sure I'll think about it later. But Telemachus, okay, so because I'm at work, not watching animations, not realizing a 7-year gap had happened yet, as soon as Telemachus starts singing Legendary, Miko, that's his name, I got it, Miko, sounds so close to Jorge to me that I actually thought it was Jorge singing, possibly as a slightly younger Odysseus. I'm like, is this a backstory song? And I was so confused throughout all of Legendary. And again, I'm missing some key lyrics that it kind of shows that this is not Odysseus because I'm at work. But then I finally realized what was going on, that I had to rewind the entire song of Legendary to figure out, to finally go, oh, I see what's going on now. But Miko did a great Telemachus, and sounds just like a voice that would be for the son of Jorge. And then Little Wolf was great for this villain sounding all high and mighty, to Athena finally returning since my goodbye, to then helping Telemachus fight. And I really like that Telemachus still loses this fight. Because well, I know the power of a goddess in quick time could be super effective. Telemachus is more than likely inexperienced with fighting. And it sounds like Antonius, being kind of this mastermind and leader of the suitors, most likely would have to be the strongest of the group, and most likely the most experienced. And so to me, it would have just been weird for Telemachus to win. And I guess Jorge felt the same, or the Odyssey in general, maybe. I don't think this happens in the Odyssey, but also agreed that Telemachus should not win this time. And so to me, it made a lot of sense that he lost. But the whole song is so upbeat. I enjoyed the lyrics, the singing, the back and forth, and it just fits to the style of music that I really like. Oh, now I gotta choose between Legendary and Love in Paradise. That's hard. Legendary, I really like this introduction to Telemachus. I really like the mythical creatures that are listed. That's a bonus point for me. I like that whole section. But it's really the second or the last part of the song that I most enjoy when the suitors are introduced and followed by Antonius being introduced and how he's just talking smack to Telemachus. Telemachus is like, "Don't you dare talk about my mom that way." And he's like, "What you gonna do about it, champ?" It's just like this whole final section was like, "This is awesome." To then lead into Little Whoop is so good. With that said, I think I am gonna put it in fourth because Love in Paradise, the way it starts, of Athena sounding concerned for her friend to essentially like the shortest recap episode section ever of just 10 then it's been 10 years since I last saw you to the ending of Remember Them of Odysseus to these awesome combinations of these other songs, like moments of these other songs, was one of the coolest things to listen to throughout an epic. What is it? It goes from Remember Them, Odysseus to Keep Your Friends Close, Ruthlessness, uh, Done For, No Longer You, Different Beasts, Scylla, and then I think it concludes with Thunderbringer. Like so many songs are mentioned and sections of them are played in this very small section. To then you get to hear Athena listen to Odysseus's final words to Eurylochus. And then it transitions into this tropical sounding like pan drums or whatever the instrument is of Calypso being introduced. And she's singing to Odysseus. It's like, "Tell me who's Penelope." He goes, "She is my wife." And this uncomfortable but comedic pause was so smart for that song. And then the lyric immediately after her of anyways, I've got all like Calypso completely ignoring what he just said because she's and it does give this childish vibe of I have this, I have this, I have this. You're gonna love it here. Childish, but also I don't want to say clueless, but kind of almost like she's mind controlled of she has to have this person and that she will not take no for an answer to then further research of Greek mythology. It does feel like that's how she was cursed. Zeus was mad that she sided with her dad Atlas in their god war, and so he punishes her by putting her on an island alone with no escape. And I believe it's also a curse where she must fall in love with the very first man who shows up on her island. And unfortunately for her, that man happened to be Odysseus, someone who is very in love with his wife Penelope. So Calypso, is forced to love a man who is never going to love her because he wants to be with someone else. And Odysseus is being punished by being put on an island where he can't escape from, where he wants to go home to his wife, but is now stuck with this crazed woman who wants him. And so it's like an unfortunate situation for both characters because Zeus is a big jerk. But the lyrics of her singing sounding completely matches this. Like it felt like that situation is playing out without needing to know the backstory of Greek mythology because Jorge did such a great job there. And Odysseus going, I'm no pet, I'm a married man, I will kill you, stay away from me. For her to be like, goddesses can't die. One, showing that she is a goddess, Calypso. But also, I feel like this is Jorge's hint of, hey, Athena's not dead. You probably know she's not dead, but I'm telling you she's not dead because goddesses can't die without telling you she's not dead because I want to save that for the end. Because Jorge's smart like that. And then hearing Odysseus's defeat of a goddess, like crap. Not only is this probably going to be hard to escape from this unescapable island, but now I'm stuck with someone I can't even kill. To her still going on with, we have all that we want here, all we can need here. And him then standing his ground of not until the end of time, there's no way, I'm never going to love you. For then 7 years to pass, thanks to Athena telling us as well, 7 years you've been trapped under your control, of the most broken sounding Odysseus. And at the time while listening, I didn't know he was planning to self game over himself is the best way I can put it. I didn't realize that's what was going on, but retrospective listening to the lyrics is like, oh, it's clear that that's what's going on. This broken man who can't get back to his home, thinking that maybe the only thing he has left is to self game over himself. For Calypso then, because Jorge again is smart, throwing out key words that matches people who are close to him that passed away, from the love is of his mom to words that match Eurylochus, to then concluding with open arms, or then like a PTSD kind of situation of Odysseus having memories of quotes from his mom who's dead, to his to his brother who's dead, to his best friend who's dead. And he is so broken and out of options that this prideful man is finally asking for help that he should have done long ago, blaring out Athena, and her going, he needs my help, was so crazy good sounding. To then lead up into God Games, it's like Love in Paradise is so dang good. I think now that I've discussed it more, it makes it an easier decision to put it above Legendary. So in order, least favorite to most favorite, Will Be Fine, Legendary, Love in Paradise, Little Wolf, God Games. Vengeance Saga, I'll try to make this quick because I've been talking a long time, and Vengeance I think is easier. I'm going to first sort it in order and then talk about it. So let's put Not Sorry for Loving You last, Dangerous first. Man, Charybdis is so good, but I'm going to put it there. Yeah, I think this is my order. Least favorite to most favorite, Not Sorry for Loving You, Charybdis, 600 Strike, Get in the Water, Dangerous. Not Sorry for Loving You, least favorite, while the singer was fantastic as Calypso. I think Wangui is her name. I might have butchered that and I apologize. The problem I have with Not Sorry for Loving You is not with the vocals, the music, or anything. It's the story aspect of this person who's heartbroken pretty much. But it's hard for me to sympathize because Odysseus clearly states, I'm married, I love my wife, and I want to go home. And it's just this whole song of her just trying to play a victim to, the only thing she could be a victim of is oops, someone wants to get banned on Twitch. I closed Twitch by accident, my bad. The only thing she's a victim of is potentially the curse that was placed on her by Zeus, but otherwise it's hard for me to feel bad for a character who's clearly told no. Ban. And I don't know, it's just a weird song for me to vibe with, and it's just one of those that it's definitely, and I'll go ahead and put it up here. It is my least favorite song of Epic the Musical, and the only one that I tend to skip sometimes just because it's just not really one that I sing, and the story feels the most uncomfortable to me. And maybe that's how it's supposed to be. I mean, again, this song is needed for Epic the Musical, and it's a great song still. All 40 of these songs are great. It's just the one that I like to listen to the least of the 40 songs. And then you get Charybdis, I believe the only song where it's only one singer the entire time, no background backup vocals or second singer. It's just Odysseus singing and nothing else. And it's a crazy good sounding song, fast paced. The lyrics are fun to sing, but it's also very short. Story wise, it just feels like a mini boss that just shows up and is quickly gone as well. And then the end, while the story is great, is a bit slow because it's leading up to a bigger section of the Vengeance Saga. So it's a great song, fun to sing, but it feels intentionally made to not be the biggest song of the Vengeance Saga, which are these two songs. Excuse me, my wife texted me. I'm gonna reply to her real fast. The reason I put Get in the Water over 600 Strike. One, Get in the Water is well wrote. I'm sure many people would agree with me there. Of the lyrics are so cool and ominous sounding. The delivery is powerful by Steven Rodriguez. Uh, and I also like the kind of twisted reference with Poseidon saying he'll take his son and gouge his eyes, because that's kind of what Odysseus did to his son. Uh, but such a great, powerful sounding song. Where 600 Strike, I really like the ending of 600 Strike. The banter between Odysseus and Poseidon, with Odysseus stabbing Poseidon with his own trident. That whole section with the conclusion of one of my favorite parts of all of Epic, with Poseidon asking how we sleep at night and Odysseus replying with "next to my wife." It's so good. What my issue is with 600 Strike though is the first half, because I was listening to it at work. I was completely confused of how Odysseus went from being plunged by Poseidon, being sent to the bottom of the ocean, to somehow fighting Poseidon on equal grounds. This mortal versus the ocean god who is in the ocean with his trident and Storm behind him. I guess not Storm behind him, because the Storm should have been in the windbag, but still the power of the water. And now Odysseus is fighting and winning. I was very confused, and I missed the Aeolus motif to, I guess, imply that the windbag had been opened and that he's flying around with it as a jetpack. As anime sounding as it is, and it would definitely work in an anime, it felt the most strange decision in all of Epic. I guess the furthest thing that you could I don't know how to explain it. It just didn't fit to me for Epic. It would fit for an anime. It just didn't feel Epic the musical like. Alright, give me a minute. And so, for me, while it's still cool sounding, especially with the choir singing one last time, and him doing an anime move called 600 Strike based off of his men, it just felt different. It felt weird to me, out of place. That's what I'm going for. It felt out of place to me. And if it wasn't for the second half of the song that carries it, I'd probably put it under Charybdis. And I've seen animations that I think do a better job explaining how Odysseus could have got the leg up on Poseidon. But I'm going more off of the first audio I heard and then the official animation, and it just felt out of place. Overall, it's still a good song, and I still sing it, and especially like the ending. But it's also a song that has the weirdest feeling to me outside of how I feel about Not Sorry for Loving You. And then Dangerous fits so close to my style of music, and the opening to that song caught me completely off guard because I've heard snippets of Dangerous from clips that Jorge had posted before Vengeance Saga came out. I did not know this opening part was going to happen to where Odysseus is basically reprising Full Speed Ahead, but when he says with one goal in mind and there's nothing, no music, the music fades out, no one is singing where they would have sang Make It Back Alive to Our Homeland. I was like, that was so chilling. It's so haunting, but so impactful to then lead into Hermes returning to a great catchy song that fits my music taste, to then the song transitioning into like a kind of a reprisal of a Keep Your Friends Close, and then the Winions returning with Jorge's sister also coming in, to then Odysseus taking the it's going to be dangerous to don't you know danger is my friend, and that whole bit with the guitar playing in the background. I'm like, this song is awesome. And then as a bonus for making it one of my favorite songs of Epic the Musical is this song made me make my first Epic the Musical content, whatever you want to call it. I took a picture of The Legend of Zelda. Here, I could probably find it and pull it up on OBS real quick. I believe I still have it saved. Browse, pictures. There it is. Let me show it. I took this picture of The Legend of Zelda where Link is in a cave and he talks to the old man, and the old man goes, "It's dangerous to go alone, take this." And I changed it to fit dangerous. So instead, you have Hermes instead of an old man talking to Odysseus instead of Link. And instead of two fires in the cave, it's two Winions. And instead of the phrase, "It's dangerous to go alone, take this," I made, "It's dangerous to go home, take this." And it's him giving him the wind bag instead of a sword. And it was the very first epic thing that I created, a fan thing. And so I thought I liked it so much that and by the way, I did take Link and turn it into Odysseus by changing part of his hat, or actually deleting some of his hat and replacing it with a blue tint to make it like that cloak that Odysseus has. I used the raft from The Legend of Zelda, but Hermes is actually I believe one of the job classes in Final Fantasy 3, and I just palette swapped it to fit more of the Hermes character. And then the Winions is actually Moogles that I took off the pom-pom and made them gray. So I didn't really pixel art any of this. I took existing things and tried to fit it more for Epic, so I'm not going to take full credit of look at my work, because it's basically me just taking ideas of other things and changing it. But I took this image and turned it into a YouTube short and added like 10 seconds of Dangerous to that YouTube short. And it got 2,000 views and over 100 likes, making it my most liked video at that time and one of my most watched videos within the first month of posting it. And so I'm like, wow, that video did so well. I already liked the song, I liked the art, and so it's just all this combination of me liking this song a lot more than I probably would have otherwise. So in order from least favorite to most favorite for Vengeance Saga, you got Not Sorry for Loving You, Charybdis, 600 Strike, Get in the Water, and Dangerous. I'm going to take a break real quick to get food started for my kids, and I'll be right back. So I'll be right back to finish the Ithaca Saga. Alrighty, let's do this. The Ithaca Saga, the last saga to go over real quick before officially ranking all 40 songs, for my personal opinion. Ithaca Saga, let's see. First sort them and then talk about them after. I think that sounds correct. So, I can't help but wonder. Again, great sounding song. Happy moment for Odysseus and Telemachus. And I really like the ending where how Odysseus introduces Athena for their final talk. Really nice and sweet. But again, it's one of the slower songs. And it's one of the better slower songs though, like one of my favorites. It's just these other four I can just get into and enjoy singing more. And I can't help but wonder, but still a fantastic song, but my least favorite of the five. Then you got the challenge, which is super good. I like how it starts off a little slow and then keeps building up with Penelope feeling so queen-like and finally from her perspective and to the I like the middle section where she's like buying you time and you got the suitors time to you know uh to then her heartful moment at the end of because I'd rather die instead of growing old without the best you, and then the whole blaring at the end is like so well done and it's such an amazing song. Hold Them Down is the absolute best villain song I have ever heard in any piece of media. The best. It's so unnecessarily catchy for a villain song that you feel the need to sing it, but the lyrics make you not feel good about singing it because Aaron Alexander is so good at playing Antonius. And then the allusion to essay at the end was like he already had a line that implied his plans for Penelope and it was already bad, but then he goes more into it and you're like, oh my gosh, this man is by far more of a monster than any other monster that Odysseus has encountered in all of this, which is so fitting for the narrative of this the musical. And then Jorge, again being smart, genius that he is, during that uncomfortable dialogue, you have that string, just like a single eerie sound of potentially implying the distress of Penelope during Antonius's awful, disgusting thought. That just makes that part even more impactful. To then them like going in at the end of Hold Them Down, to then unexpectedly for me when I first listened to the arrow right through Antonius, just immediately taking out the boss of the suitors, was incredible. And then Would You Fall in Love with Me Again? If we look at the slower songs, My Goodbye, Will Be Fine, I Can't Help But Wonder, tends to be lower on my list. And then you get Just a Man, which is high, and Would You Fall in Love with Me Again, that is also high on these lists, because I think the lyrics go above and beyond, and the feelings that you get are great, and they're still good enough to sing to where I don't feel I'm slow singing it, and I just feel it's more of an upwards feeling with with Would You Fall in Love with Me Again. It's a longer song, which I tend to like at Epic because these songs are great, and this is the conclusion, the finale of Odysseus and Penelope finally reuniting, but Odysseus ashamed of what he's done and afraid that this monster he's become will not be this person who can live up to who Penelope can love. And Penelope, because she's even more cunning than Odysseus, tricks him into exposing himself to showing that he is still at the core the man that she fell in love with, to them going back and forth, like talking about waiting, to them reuniting. And I just want to get into this real quick because I made a YouTube short about this as well. There's a scene, spoiler for Final Fantasy X. If you have not seen Final Fantasy X, played it, and want to be spoiler free for the ending of the game, please mute this or ignore me for like the next 20 to 30 seconds. Anyways, the ending of 10, where it's Yuna running through Titus because he's turning back into a Powerfly, and her standing up, and her saying that she loves him, and him then going up to her and attempting to embrace her. And while you know that she can't feel him, it's like the closest she's ever felt to him because they love each other. To then it ending with him jumping off the airship and reuniting with everyone else who's a Firefly. As a kid who is big on story, I that scene made me like bawl as a kid, and even as an adult, even though I've seen that scene dozens of times, is one of the most impactful scenes I've ever seen in a piece of media. Hold on, my wife texted me. I'm trying to text back. Like one of the best romance scene I've ever seen in a piece of media. It's forever because I'm a huge Final Fantasy X fan, and I just always thought that scene was done so well in Final Fantasy X. And then you get Epic that has something that that pretty much matches that, to the feelings that I felt with that scene in 10, because Jorge had to throw in trumpets doing Just a Man motif, with the implication of that they're reunited finally, hugging, kissing, whatever, and then the official animation is them hugging with the panning shot and those freaking trumpets, dude. Maybe not just one eye, but both eyes getting super cloudy, trying my hardest not to cry of emotion. I'm like, holy smokes, dude. I never thought anything would feel that close to me as that Final Fantasy X scene. And actually, there's one other piece of media that makes me feel that close, but I think Epic and Final Fantasy X are above it. But third place for me would be Uncle Iroh and Prince Zuko reuniting towards the end of the uh, book 3, where Zuko was afraid that Iroh wouldn't forgive him. And then Iroh gives his speech of, I wasn't afraid, I was just disappointed, but you found your way all on your own, them hugging. That got me as well. But I think Epic and Final Fantasy X still are above that, and it's those stinking trumpets, dude, that get me. Like, I'm already feeling the emotion of them back and forth, and her little test that she does against Odysseus was like already emotional, but hearing Just a Man and the trumpet from implying that Odysseus felt like a monster, but still, in the end, he's just a man. But the trumpets implying that he's a changed man, but he's still the same at the core, and them finally reuniting, and then them saying they love each other at the end. I'm like, gosh, dude, what a emotional ending. That was so well done. And I think that's why I have such high regards for this. While it's a slower song, it is done so well from a storytelling perspective, music perspective, singing perspective, that I regard it as the most romantic song I've ever heard, most beautiful song I've ever heard to this day of any media, and the best slow song I've ever heard. And the only thing that tops it for the Ithaca saga for me is the song Odysseus. While it's not like a 70s, 80s style song, Odysseus is so action heavy. And it feels like Odysseus is the boss. And you get the point of view of the suitors, but you don't want them to overcome this boss as they're being hunted down in this, I guess, castle. And the lyrics are so cool. I like the idea that anytime a suitor seems remotely intelligent, like this man plans for every fight, dead, or we know these halls, the odds can be tilted, like we can overcome this guy, dead. Hey, don't kill us. We were only listening to the guy you just killed. Let's just have open arms. That like it seems like anyone who might be in charge or trying to talk Odysseus down or take Odysseus down is the one to die. And Odysseus embracing pretty much every quality of every monster he's faced in the song was so cool. Telemachus coming in with a bit of a Athena and Telemachus Athena merge motif was super cool. Jorge being sneaky, putting more motifs in the sword clingings that I never would have caught until he made that video. To me, this is what Would You Fall in Love with Me Again is the lead up of Odysseus reuniting with his wife, the main goal for him. But Odysseus felt like the lead up of him coming home and getting rid of the last bit of conflict he has to overcome for it to feel like his final return to home in the most grand way possible, and so action heavy and so much fun to sing. And I like the foreign like sound or voices to these characters, also adding a bit of extra to it. And then the conclusion of it being the choir blaring out Odysseus, just like the end of No Longer You. It's just an incredible song and will be high up on my rankings list for sure. So here are all the songs in order from most favorite to least favorite in each saga. And now I'm going to try my best in the next 30 minutes to rank them from least favorite to most favorite. Let me actually put this back down here real quick. Alrighty. And just for YouTube's sake, because I'd like to turn this into its own separate YouTube video, now that we've took time to sort these. What's up, everyone? I'm Blazing Phoenix, and in this video, I am going to be ranking all 40 songs of Epic the Musical from my least favorite to my most favorite. During my live stream, I have organized all the songs per saga of my most favorite to least favorite. So, for example, my most favorite in the Troy saga is The Horse and the Infant, and my least favorite is Open Arms. I know that's probably a controversial thing to say, but these is my opinions and my opinions alone. If you'd like to hear a more in-depth thought that I have for all 40 songs, you can check out my live stream where I go in more detail of how I feel about each song and why I put them in the placement that I did for each saga. I just figured this would be a shorter video just to start from here instead of doing the entire sorting that I did on top of ranking them. So the live stream will be for these individual saga rankings, and this video will be for all 40 songs. As mentioned in the live stream, my least favorite song is Not Sorry for Loving You, just because story-wise, it's the one that I feel kind of most uncomfortable with and feel the least sympathetic for Calypso as the viewer or listener rooting for Odysseus to get home to his wife, and here's this goddess who's just not taking no for an answer, possibly due to reasons that are outside of Epic the Musical, being a God's War that occurred. But regardless, this just happens to be my least favorite song because of how I feel about it when I listen to it. So this is going to be 40th place. Next up will be We'll Be Fine. And as I've said in my live stream, I think all 40 songs are great. To me, this is kind of like you have 40 restaurants that are 4.8 to 5 stars. and someone's trying to tell you to rank all 40 restaurants, even though they're all fantastic restaurants. All the singers are great, or chefs are great. The music is great. Everything is great. Lyrics great, and everything is just difficult for trying to rank all 40 of them. So while We'll Be Fine is in my 39th place, I don't think it's a bad song. It's just personally for me, it's on the lower end because A, it's I think the shortest song of Epic the Musical, and B, it doesn't match towards my style of music, which is either closer to 70s, 80s, or rock, or upbeat, or happy, or clever. This is just two friends or two acquaintances talking, and how Athena is just sad, and it's just a very short song that just, I don't know, it's just not one of my favorites. On top of My Goodbye. My Goodbye, as I talked about in the live stream, is lower on my list because it just felt like two parents fighting over a silly reason, and kind of, or even like two close friends fighting up, breaking up in front of you, and it's just super uncomfortable. Like, I like the upbeat songs, I like the clever songs, I like the crazy good songs or story, and then this song is just, you didn't listen to me, well, I didn't want to do that, now we're gonna part our ways, good, good, and just go off, and it's just, it seems like kind of a silly argument, and it's definitely needed for the story. It's important to the story, but for my personal side of singing, listening, and having fun, uh, it just was on my lesser side of what I like for these songs. And so for me, I put it in my 30th place. And I know a lot of people will probably be upset that I just put two Tegan Early songs low. Because I know a lot of people really, 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 really like her. And I think the cast is fantastic for their singing. And so for me, I can't just pick a song because someone just sung in a way that I like more than others. It's just my own personal taste. So here we have Uncomfortable Topic. Here we have a very short song of someone being sad and just having a realization that then transitions to a much better song for me, to two parents fighting. And then, so 40th, 39th, 38th, 37th, I'm going to put Scylla. And the reason for this is, again, as explained in the live stream, you have a very slow opening that's building up to a horror-like vibe, which is fine, as well as Eurylochus finally saying what was on his mind, to the monster popping up, but quickly killing 6 men and just going away. Like, it feels so short. The lyrics are great, the singing is great, but it feels horror vibes, which I'm not much of a horror person, to a shorter feeling song. And it's just, to me, it again, I like the lyrics and I can sing to it, but for my personal taste and what I've enjoyed singing from Epic, it's on the lower end of what I've liked from Epic the Musical. And then next would be Storm. It feels like a filler song, which it kind of is. It's the bridge between the Cyclops Saga to the later part of the Ocean Saga. And explain, I see this as a more simple song than the rest of Epic the Musical. Not saying that it's a simple song, just a more simple song of, here's a storm, Odysseus feels cocky, Eurylochus feels concerned, and then, oh, look, an island in the sky, and it has its comedic moments, and I laugh. And I will sing the song, it's super catchy, but it's just not one of my favorites. Sorry, my wife texted me, so I'm texting back real quick. And again, these are based off of my personal opinions. I know everyone's list is very different for Epic the Musical. It's just what I feel fits my style of music the most. And for Storm, that puts it at 40, 39, 38, 36th place. Trying to decide what to put next. I'm gonna do this. Just gonna quickly fill out this bottom row so I can talk about it better. Oh. Sorry about this. Oh. Trying to do something on my phone real quick and my phone's not working. Alright. Actually, I'm probably gonna get flagged for that. 40, 39, 38, 37, 36, 35, 34, 33. I don't actually have a list made out, so I'm trying to make this up as I go. Is that 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alrighty. So I'm actually going to change it up a little. I Can't Help But Wonder. Fantastic song. Great reuniting of Odysseus and Telemachus, as well as Odysseus and Athena. However, it's a slower song, and I typically am less and for story reason, it's great. Definitely great. But I'm also looking at this as what songs do I enjoy singing and have more happier or more intense, epic, I guess, feeling for these songs. And I Can't Help But Wonder is lower, followed by Storm, Open Arms, which I know is probably a fan favorite, towards the top. Full Speed Ahead, Done For, Legendary. So 40th, 39, 38, 37, 36, 35, 34, 33, 32, 31. Open Arms is great, but while Polites is a great character, I kind of sided with the whole Odysseus side of things of we can't always be nice to people, especially since they're in a Greek mythology story where crap happens all the time. And I do know that this song is important for the story, as this is what is the main driving force for Odysseus to try to be nicer to people he encounters, and it works for Circe, but doesn't work so well in other encounters. But for the song itself, Open Arms is just one of my least favorites. It's definitely bouncy sounding and is catchy to sing and dance to. It's just for some reason it doesn't resonate with me as much as everything else that you're going to see above it. Full Speed Ahead, I find catchy. I like that this is an introduction to the two like angels on Odysseus' shoulder. Polites being more positive, Eurylochus being more cautious, negative. The whole catchphrase of full speed ahead coming from it. Done For, the first song I ever heard of Epic the Musical. The lyrics are catchy, and I do think the wordplay is clever, has a funny moment in it. But as stated in the live stream, it feels more musical style, and I'm not much of a musical person. And compared to the rest of the songs that are going higher than it, especially for the Cersei saga, uh, it's just on the lower end of what I've liked from Epic the Musical. Legendary's great. I really like the mythical creatures that I mentioned, and I like the suitor aspect at the end. But it's all of these are just going to be more towards what feels closer to what I like in music and further away of what I like with singing and listening to for music. But overall, I will always say that these songs are great, and I recommend Epic the Musical to anybody, which is why I've been spending the last 2 hours plus hours on live streaming talking about it. Uh, let's see, what would I put next? Maybe this. Well, I put Charybdis is so much fun to sing because of how fast paced it is. And while the ending of it is important for the story, I typically skip Charybdis to get straight into getting the water after Charybdis disappears. So maybe there. I could probably put Legendary above it, maybe. Legendary I can sing all the way through, while the beginning is a bit slower for me, or the build up is slower for me. The ending is great, whereas Charybdis has a great beginning, but it's also so short, and the ending is slower. It's still beautiful to sing it, but it's one of those that once you get past the mini boss, you want to get straight into the boss fight of getting the water. Uh, but I think the fast part of Charybdis just makes it more fun to sing. It's so short though. It really is so short. And it doesn't have like a funny moment like Done For has. The funny moment being Hermes gave it to you, didn't he? And I do like the funny moments in Epic. I do like that Athena has a motif-ish reference in Legendary, which makes it clever. Man, this is actually a little more difficult than I anticipated. I might put Charybdis lower than... Definitely above Full Speed Ahead, though. I think I'll do that. I'll move Legendary up to 30th place and Charybdis in 32nd. Love in Paradise, keep your friends close. Maybe that next. That next. Maybe that there. Maybe. Actually, I think I want to put that up and move this. Here. See, as mentioned in the live stream, I really like 600 Strike, especially the ending part. Just the beginning part is just... It sounds cool. The lyrics are cool, but the idea of somehow Odysseus got out of Poseidon's big attack, mostly because by using the windbag as a jetpack, just sounds so out of place for Epic. But the ending of it is so good, especially the final lines. Challenge is great. Warrior of Mine's great. Man, that's hard. I think I like Polyphemus more than Different Beast. I think I like Get in the Water more than Different Beast. Different Beast went from 20th place to going down. Oh man, this is hard for me to decide. Keep Your Friends Close is definitely super catchy. And especially the second half of it, especially the dream part. I like that part very much. The ending to 600 Strike is what carries it. It would be so much lower if it wasn't for the ending. Different Beast is just so catchy and fun to sing for me. Warrior of the Mind is just like the theme song for Athena, as well as just how Odysseus portrays himself as the warrior of the mind. And I think it's super catchy, especially the bomb, 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 bomb. That whole bit is super catchy. There Are Other Ways is great. Puppeteer is great. I already talked about why I really like these songs. I think I actually like Warrior of the Mind more. Especially the second half of it when it gets to the flashback sequence. And he's like, show yourself. That whole bit all the way up to the end is really good. I should have made a list before the stream so I didn't have to spend so long on stream doing this. Let's see, we got Legendary, Love in Paradise, which is super good. I think I actually like Love in Paradise more than Keep Your Friends Close. Different Beast is good. Man, these are hard. This is the problem. Like I said before, picking between 4.8 restaurants to 5-star restaurants and trying to sort them all is is an incredibly difficult task. These songs are so good, and I would understand on anyone's list if all of these songs were higher and lower in any place. They all deserve to be high on every list, and unfortunately, because all 40 are so good, it's very difficult to rank them all. And as I said in the live stream, my opinions seem to always change because I did consider making a list before, and I had like a pseudo list made. And on that list, I actually had Storm lower, Open Arms and Full Speed ahead a little bit lower. I actually had those two flipped. I had Open Arms above Full Speed ahead. I don't know. Legend. Sorry, my wife is texting and I keep texting back. Uh, it'd be so much easier for me to go from the top down, I feel like, but I don't want to reveal my favorite. Well, I guess people would probably just skip towards the end anyways to see what my opinions are. So I'll just do that. Let's start with the top, my favorite, Odysseus. The next two were so difficult for me to choose because they're so close in how much I like them. And while I think one is clearly the better song than the other, I just personally like one more. And so you have Wouldn't You Like and Dangerous. I truly think Dangerous is the better song overall, lyric, story wise, and all that, because of reasons I could probably get into, but this is long enough as is. But for some reason, I just like Wouldn't You Like more. I think it just fits closer to my music taste. And I just always am slightly more eager and excited to sing this song than Dangerous. Odysseus, just the coolest, greatest song, in my opinion. My personal favorite of all of Epic the Musical. Uh, Before I would have put these in this order. I just really like No Longer You, and I wish it was in top five, but I feel like these are also top five materials. So it's like six songs that belong in the top five, and it just doesn't work. Um, the song that got me to really start Epic the Musical, the cinematic piece of masterpiece right here, and the greatest spoiler song that I could ever listen to. It's just, I wish it was a longer song, I guess. I really just want to put it in like fourth or fifth place, but then I feel like I wouldn't be honest. I don't know. Sometimes it feels like this. Some days I feel like this because I heard Ruthlessness too much that I want to put these here, and then other times I'm just like, but Ruthlessness is just too good, and it's like a theme of the entire musical. So not only is it a great standalone song, it's very important for the musical. Where it's just this hey, I know you came for me to tell you how to get help, but nope, I'm just going to tell vague spoilers that you aren't going to pay attention to for the rest of this musical. And then I would put the song that really hooked me onto Epic the Musical first, Survive, followed by God Games, Horse and the Infant, and Would You Fall in Love with Me Again. They are by far my top 10 favorite songs. In any given week, month, or the 2 years I've been listening to Epic, this has not changed. This is my top 10. With, like I said, the only exception being these three songs over here sometimes could change, but it doesn't kick them out of top 10. uh, Hold Them Down, Little Wolf, Suffering is super catchy, Thunderbringer, Monster, Underworld, Luck runs out. Remember them. Just a man. Polyphemus. That seems like a good 10 to 20 for me. Hold them down. Little Wolf, Thunderbringer. Maybe Thunderbringer can go above Little Wolf. I might put Monster above Suffering. I think these placements are fine. Just a Man is such a great song. Hold them down, Little Wolf, Thunderbringer. Little Wolf is just fun to sing. Suffering is fun to sing. Monster's crazy good. I think I might put it above Suffering. Get in the Water, Warrior of the Mind, Puppeteer. It almost feels like 600 Strikes should be a part of Get in the Water, so you have a great start, great finish, and just a weird in between. Different Beast. Different Beast used to be much higher for me, but after hearing it a few times, like more times, and hearing the other songs, I just started to appreciate the other songs more that made Different Beast go down. Man, a lot of these are so good that they all deserve to be up here, and it just feels wrong to put them lower. Let me reply to my wife real quick. Oh, do I feel good about this list? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait, God Games isn't supposed to be up there. Ha, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Monster probably is above Thunderbringer, honestly. I think I like it more than Little Wolf. Look at Monster go, 12th place. Little Wolf, Thunderbringer, Suffering, Underworld. So good. Just these top 20 especially. I don't think any of these will get knocked out of top 20 for me on a given day, week, month. Man. Just a Man is so good, but it's not my type of music, but it fits so well for the whole musical. Eh, it's still a very good song that for me I'm torn that it should be higher and lower at the same time. In the Water, Warrior of the Moon. Puppeteer is so good. There are other ways so good. The challenge so good. The ending of 600 Strike makes it so difficult for me because, as I've already said many times, that uh, I really should have done this offline before starting this. I thought maybe if I talked them all out, it'd be easier to figure it out, but it really hasn't been. Kids are playing and having fun. This. I do like this more than Done For. I don't know if I like it more than Legendary. The Legendary, Keep Your Friends Close. I think I like Keep Your Friends Close better. I'll put up a Love in Paradise. I'll put up a Different Beast. Maybe. Because it's still a fun song to sing overall. So it's not like the ending is the only thing carrying it. The first bit's still fun to sing. It's just the story-wise doesn't make as much sense. These are just great songs. That one's super catchy. Maybe this would be the list. Is there anything else I can see that can change, or am I finally done with the list? And again, if someone asked me to make this list next month, there might be some minor adjustment here and there. This is just for my current opinion for where I stand currently on Epic the Musical. I think I like Scylla more than I Can't Help But Wonder. Even though it's a fantastic song. They're all fantastic. Love and Orange, Falls River, Done For, Charybdis, Legendary, Love in Paradise, Different Beast, The Challenge. Man, Justin Man deserves to be way higher. It's just the Cyclops saga is what really hooked me onto it, and these songs are so catchy. That's, man. At least it's in the top 20. That should count for something, right? The song is just too catchy. I don't know what it is about Luck Runs Out, but I just really like it. Underworld. Man. No, I'm gonna put Just a Man above Polyphemus. And the Ringer, Little Wolf. I think this could be it. Love Ring, Thunder Ringer, Little Wolf. Suffering's so catchy. But Thunderbringer I think is better. Monster. I think this is it. As of July 20th, 2026, this is my current standing on or ranking for the 40 songs of Epic the Musical. Starting from last place at 40th all the way to first place, you have Not Sorry for Loving You, We'll Be Fine, My Goodbye, I Can't Help But Wonder, Scylla, Storm, Open Arms, Full Speed Ahead, Done For, and Charybdis for 40th to 31st place. Legendary, Love in Paradise, Different Beast, The Challenge, Keep Your Friends Close, 600 Strike, There Are Other Ways, Puppeteer, Warrior of the Mind, and Get in the Water for 30th to 21st place. Polyphemus, Just a Man, Remember Them, Luck Runs Out, The Underworld, Suffering, Thunderbringer, Little Wolf, Monster, and Hold Them Down from 20th to 10th. Would You Fall in Love with Me Again, The Horse and the Infant, God Games, and Survive for 10th to 7th. And for my top 6 songs, normally people do top 5, but these are absolutely my top 6 favorite, without a doubt. I would put them as like S++ ranks. No Longer You, Mutiny, Ruthlessness, Dangerous, Wouldn't You Like, and Odysseus. And really these top 10, you got S++, S+, and then you got like S, A, and B. Like, I don't even feel right saying B. Let's do S++, S+, S, A+, for songs. So that's my current standing for it. So for those who watched, I hope you enjoyed, and good luck to anyone that needs it. Real quick, for the YouTube side of things, I'm going to mention one more thing of what exactly is Epic the Musical. Epic the Musical is a loose adaptation of Homer's The Odyssey, created by Jorge Rivera Arens, also known as Jay, who made 40 songs covering the Odyssey and broke down into what's called 9 sagas. And each saga has about 4 to 5 songs, with one saga having 3 songs, to make it easier to listen through to cover the story of the Odyssey. Which, for those who don't know what that one is, the Odyssey is the story of King Odysseus concluding with the war of the Trojan War that had taken place for 10 years from the Iliad story. And Odysseus then just wants to go back home to Ithaca to reunite with his wife, Queen Penelope, and his son, Prince Telemachus. But as you may know, with Greek mythology stories, things are never as easy as it sounds to be. And so the story of the Odyssey is a bunch of awful things that keeps happening to Odysseus and his 600 men that are trying to make it back home to Ithaca. And the loose adaptation that Jay did with Epic the Musical has some differences in main ideas, as well as being a musical. He has implemented things inspired by video games and anime to create a very unique storytelling way of the Odyssey that is now my personal favorite storytelling of the Odyssey. And where characters will have their own instruments, there will be things called motifs that are like samples of songs that you'll hear over and over in other songs as references. And it's just one of the greatest things I have ever listened to for entertainment media. And you can tell that Jorge is a big fan of video games and anime and action movies and all that, especially being Kingdom Hearts, which I am too, a fan of Kingdom Hearts. And so it's just the very first musical that I could ever get into. So I'll try to use that clip somewhere on my thoughts on Epic the Musical when I turn that into its own video. So now I will finally end stream for those who watched. I hope you enjoyed, and good luck to anybody that needs it.